Well, when we get started with this is the engine it's going to be for that Avalanche. As you can see, there's no heads on it. Now, I specifically asked, I said, it's got heads? Yeah. But I didn't ask if the heads were bolted on. So this is another learning event for me. I guess you have to be more specific. I asked him if it was a long block, if I could run this engine, right out of the box, like I could stick it in there. Oh yeah. And so when we got down to it, and I was talking to him about it, and I mean, he's a friend of mine. I'm not sitting there cussing him because I was not specific, and apparently you have to be a little more, it doesn't make any difference. This is the way it works. What you're looking at though is, I believe it's a 2001. He couldn't remember if it was a 1 or 2. It doesn't really matter. They're the same anyway. 4.8. You can tell because it's got flat top pistons. Your 4.8 and 5.3 share the same block, same bore. They just have different stroke. And the 5.3, if it's not that high output, which is kind of rare to find, it's only in a handful. Run dish pistons. They're 9.3 to 1. The little 4.8s are 10 to 1. They use the same heads, which he has the heads. He just didn't bring them with him, so he's bringing those to me tomorrow. And like I say, he's a friend of mine, so it's not like I can't go find him. So anyway, what you find, and I think I've showed you guys this before, but this is I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it now. It's too dirty. We'll go to this one. I may have shown you this before, but if you look at this actually says 4.8, 5.3 liter. I can turn it. Looks a little bit better that way. And that is because they use the same block. So I know I've talked about this probably more than once, but kind of wanted to give you an idea. Okay, so advantages and disadvantages to getting it like this. I expected one that I could throw a handful of gaskets on the outside and put it in. Now that it's like this is going to require a lot more money and a lot more work. So here's the deal. I paid $200 for it and the bottom end gasket set. That includes both covers, front and rear, both seals, front and rear, oil pan. I can't remember. I'll have to go through the box. The box has not been open, and I've looked the price up on them, and basically that means I paid $100, $150 for the gaskets, and basically $100 or whatever you want to go, $50 to $100 for the motor. So did I go wrong? No, I don't believe so, because I was still told that this was running and driving when the guy pulled it out. Now the pistons are really clean because I guess he cleaned them all up. But seeing as how it's this far, I thought you can't change the lifters on these without pulling the heads. Well, the heads are off, so I will most likely go ahead and get lifters for it. That was my decision. Well, then it's like, well, crap, I have to have head gaskets. So I start pricing that. Well, good grief, by the time you price that, you got to get a whole top set. Well, then that's going to be quite a bit more money, another 100 and whatever, $60 or whatever it said. And it's like, well, if I'm going that far, I might as well change the timing chain and maybe the oil pump, because so now it's probably going to be, I'm going to tear the whole thing completely down, check the bearings, might as well just do it all. You got to pull the oil pan anyway, and I got to get the balancer off and stuff. So I'll probably do a video of this thing coming apart. Most of it's apart already. Now I've already ordered head bolts because you're not supposed to use the ones that you took out. They are what they consider torque to yield. They do have a little bit of silicone on them, Loctite. I assume that's some of these must go into water jackets, which is not uncommon. And I'm not swearing to that, I'm just guessing. And I've got the lifters. I've got most of the lifters. Rest coming tomorrow, along with the gasket set and timing set are all coming tomorrow. So that's what's happening. The oil pump, I want a high volume. They could not get it, so I'm going to look for one tonight on eBay. And I thought about putting a cam in it, but this is going to be a kind of a daily driver. If I want any more power out of this 4.8, there's three big things that you can do to these. Obviously, air in, air out is your biggest. Putting a cam in it is not going to... I'm not saying it won't make it run better, but when you're dealing with something that's 5,000 pounds, aerodynamic as a brick, and four-wheel drive, putting a bigger cam in it is not going to fix your problems. If you want that thing to be quicker and faster, put a 488 gear in it or something. You know what I mean? 410, 488 gear. Re-gear it to make it feel a little quicker. You could put a little bit of a stall in it, but if you're going to be driving it on the highway, I wouldn't get carried away. This is my personal opinion. I'm not telling you what to do and how you do whatever you want with your motors. This is my personal opinion on it. If you're going to take this on the highway, if we're planning on taking this, if we still have it in July, we're planning on taking it to Colorado, possibly even Chicago. So in the same month. Do I want something that's going to get 12 miles a gallon, have a big lopey cam? Oh, hey, that sounds great, but it really doesn't do you any good. So we're probably going to run the stock cam. If I was to step up at all, I would go just one step above, and I would look at something like an LS6 or something like that, like a used LS6 cam or even a new one. I wouldn't go anything bigger. But anyway, how to easily get power out of these are headers. Do a cat delete. Now, I'm not telling you to do that because it's illegal in every state not to have cats on these. So I'm going to tell you I'm going to use it for off-road purposes only. Nah, I better not tell you that. I don't know if I'm going to keep the exhaust that's on there or not. I've used a set that I'm looking at now for the Suburban when I put the 6-liter in it. It looks like it has cats. It has 5 bungs for O2s. But it does not have cats. It just looks like they're catalytic converters. So visual inspection, it'd pass. I doubt it would pass the emissions though, especially if you cam it and fuel it up. You're definitely not going to pass. But anyway, open the exhaust up front to back. I'm talking about getting rid of that huge truck muffler that's underneath there and get the flow a little bit better. These actually flow pretty good, but going into one, it really don't do much good. And then do a cold air intake of some type. Usually I go with the cheap ones because to me it somewhat has a box. I could seal it up a little bit better, but a $50 one to me works just as good as a $350 one. And now that's not always the case. A lot of them are built better quality intake, better quality box, better quality air cleaner itself. But I usually go with the $50 ones. They do what I need them to do, so that's usually what I'm going to do. So I'm going to look at a different oil pump. And then we're going to go into it and see. I'll hone the cylinders, stick some new rings in it, bearings most likely, and because I've never had one of these apart. So I mean, not even this far. I've had them to where I've changed the knock sensors, which I told you guys those things are hard to get to. This doesn't have the plate on top of it right now. They're not easy to get to. You got to pull a bunch of stuff apart to get to them. So just keep that in mind. If you're going to replace them with GM. Go to GM and get them. And then get the wiring harness with it. They have issues with being underwater, and they rust, and they don't make contact, and they give you check engine lights and stuff like that. Okay, and they'll retard your timing. Now, of course, then tuning is another way to get more power out of something, but you got to be careful how far you go before you start losing fuel mileage and stuff too. So the handheld ones will work, but obviously you can't tune out your well, if you're putting this in something else, like I did the Malibu, then you have to have the security system turned off. I usually have all the emissions turned off that can be turned off. So anyway, next video will be me possibly tearing this whole thing apart. So stick with me.